Grandpa!
Hi, honey.
I was wondering if you could help me out. I have to write a history project on the Battle of Hong Kong. You were in that, right?
I sure was. I would love to help you. Where to start?
The year was 1941. I was one of the 14,000 young men who enlisted themselves into the battle. They deployed us in Hong Kong because the Canadian government didn't want to fully commit the country to battle. They sent us into a fight they thought had no military value or significance.
14,000 volunteers for the battle in Hong Kong? Wow, where did they all come from?
Well, some of us came from BC, but my squadron came from Quebec. Didn't you know that?
No way!
Yes, anyways, we were called the Sea Force. We departed to Hong Kong in November of 1941. We were inexperienced and terrified going into a fight. We had absolutely no idea what we were up against. It was the scariest time of my life. To make things worse, the Sea Force was promised vehicles to help us in combat, but they never showed up, as the transport carrying them rerouted to Manila.
So what weapons did you have if your vehicles were rerouted?
Well, we had 5 airplanes that could each carry a 500-pound bomb. They were flown by 9 fighters, myself being one of them. The Sea Force also had other weapons like rifles, guns, and bayonets.
So you're pretty well supplied, right?
Yes, you could say that.
Can you tell me about the battle now?
Of course. Even though we departed in November, the battle didn't start until December 8th, less than 8 hours after the Pearl Harbor attack in Hawaii. A Japanese invasion force of over 50,000 struggled to defeat the Sea Force. The ratio of Japanese to Canadian fighters was 3.7 to 1, making it a difficult battle for us. The Japanese crippled our air capabilities, leaving us with only 1 out of 5 airplanes after the air raids. Days later, they managed to conquer the mainland and then issued two demands for us to surrender on 2 separate days, one on the 13th and one on the 17th.
Why did they issue demands for surrender, Grandpa?
Well, the Japanese thought since they had taken over the mainland, they were going to win anyways, so why make it harder in the fight?
So what happened next? What did the Sea Force do?
Well, we couldn't just surrender yet.
We rejected their demand and continued fighting. After hearing our response, they decided to invade the island of Hong Kong. On the 20th of December, the Japanese secured a passage between the northern and southern side of the island. We were stuck in the middle. This eventually starved us for water, which finally forced us to surrender on December 25th, 1941, after 17 exhausting days of resistance.
I would have never guessed that was 17 days. After a battle that rough, it sounds like it could have been 3 years. That's insane you lived through that.
I was lucky. I injured my leg while on the battlefield and had to be taken to shelter in one of the village huts. There, I was under constant care from civilians. They healed my leg and kept me safe from Japanese soldiers. The rest of the Sea Force were taken into work camps. They were considered cowards for surrendering, although some of the Japanese soldiers remained docile after the battle. Others continued to carry out the terror of the battle on defenseless POWs. Also, several atrocities were performed on civilians who weren't involved at all. Although I injured my leg, I was extremely fortunate because I wasn't taken to a camp.
They had war camps in Hong Kong? Wow! So in the end, what was the total casualties of the battle?
There were over 2,000 Sea Force soldiers who died during the battle, 2,300 wounded, and nearly 10,000 captured. There were almost 700 Japanese soldiers who died, and 2,000 wounded. Also, there were 6,000 civilians who either died or were wounded by the battle.
I had no idea that it was such a harsh loss for Canadians. This must have impacted not only the soldiers and their families, but Canada as a whole.
Oh, definitely. It was the first Canadian involvement in war, which happened to be a loss, so of course the Canadians were impacted. This also hit hard with the Hong Konger Canadians, as they lost their ancestral home and even their family.
I never thought about that. Was any of this normal for the time?
Well, yes, it fit in with the Japanese imperialism. That means that one nation is able to take control of a smaller nation.
Oh, right. I guess in war camps these behaviors shine through. I know that this was a battle, but were there any positive outcomes in the conflict?
Well, yes, I suppose it did. Although it was an oppressive fight, it changed the perception of Canada, as Canadians held out for 17 days while being outnumbered, inexperienced, and unsupported. This made us Canadians look like we could take a punch well above our weight. The Battle of Hong Kong also helped to build an identity of Canadian bravery. because we were defending a foreign land in which we had no connection with. It also helped to build a sense of patriotism and honor in Canada.
Oh, well, I guess everything, even as bad as a war, can have some beneficial outcomes.
Those are some wise words, Elise.